so we think it's around about here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just carefully with my hand run it around the inside of the tyre and see if I can feel anything sharp. And if I have a good look, it doesn't appear to be anything in the tyre there. So whatever punctured the tyre has actually come out again. So it could have just been a little sharp thorn or something that's punctured the tyre, through the tyre into the tube, punctured the tube and then come straight back out again. That's quite common. If you're not real sure, you can take the tyre right off. So to do that, we'll stand it up and we lift the bead up onto the top edge of the rim and we're just going to peel it over with our hands. We're just going to peel it off like peeling a banana. Okay, we'll put the rim down out of the way. We'll come back to that in a second. And we can also now, we can go around and open up the tyre and have a really good look to make sure there's nothing in it. So work your way all the way around the tyre and see that there's no other problems, no bulging or layers of the tyre lifting or etc, etc. And this looks pretty good. So whatever punctured the tube's only something minor, but enough to cause the air to go down. Another important thing to remember with tube tyres is that they've got a band around here to stop the spokes from rubbing on the inside of your tube. So they usually, this one's actually glued on, but some of them are just a rubber band that just sits around there, so you need to just check that, make sure it's in place and it's not perished and it's got the spokes properly covered. And this one looks pretty good. Yep. Okay, so all that's good as well. So the other thing I wanted to just talk to you briefly about is the tyre's bead. So this little section here of the tyre, which has got a cord in it, and that's what actually gives its tyre its strength, where it sits on the tyre, on the rim itself. If it didn't have that cord in there, the tyre would just pop straight off the rim. So on tube tyres, they're not as probably strong as a tubeless. Tubeless rely 100% more on this bead to be a good seal, whereas the tube, because they've got air in a tube, it's not as critical. But on a tubeless tyre, this bead is absolutely critical for the sealing of the tyre. So you would check that very thoroughly to make sure that there's no cuts or marks or anything on that bead. But it still pays to check that on a tube tyre anyway, just to make sure on both sides there's no abrasions or anything that's going to allow it to seal, not seal properly, and that all looks pretty good. Okay, so the patch is now on, so we need to just make sure that patch is not leaking. We can check that easily. So we refit the valve. This is a valve tool. You can actually repair the thread inside the valve here where the valve screws in. You can thread it at that end, and the other end here you can actually fix the thread on the outside should it be burred or any reason. They're like little tap and die, so you can actually repair that thread if it's got a few marks on it. This one's got a couple, but it feels alright. So they're a handy little tool to have in your kit. Alright, I'm just going to put a bit of air in the tube. Don't overinflate them because they don't get any bigger than that inside the tyre. In fact, they're probably smaller than that inside the tyre. So let's have a look at our patch, and we can see it's nice and adhered all the way around. If that cellophane is going to come off, just pull it off. If it will come off easily, look, it looks like it is. Just pull it from one side. Bingo. Yep. Now to check it, little container of some water. We're just going to pop the tube inside the water, and if there's any air leak, we'll get bubbles. And that looks fine, no bubbles. Okay, so now we can reassemble the wheel. Okay, so to reassemble the wheel, grab your rim, grab your tyre, and sit the bead over the edge of the tyre, and just using your hands you should be able to push that bead over all the way along. The beauty of large diameter wheels. And we've got that on. Okay, next step is to put the tube in. Just a little bit of pressure in it to hold it up so it sits in the tyre nice. One of the things you don't want to happen is get the tube twisted, like so, because that'll crease the tube, and that's a good place it'll create a leak in the tube down the track. So we're just going to pull the tyre back, and we're going to pop the valve through the rim, like so. Pull it in. Now we're going to flip the tube inside the tyre, like so. And we're going to work that around inside the tyre, making sure we don't twist it. And just check that it's not twisted. That's all good. Now we want to finish at the valve last, so we're going to start opposite the valve. So we're going to push the tyre bead over the edge of the rim, just using your hands. The big thing you're looking out for is not to pinch the tube. So by having a little bit of air pressure in the tube, that'll hold the tube up, and you shouldn't pinch the tube using this method. So you're just going to work your tyre on. And you can see I'm working my way towards the valve. The last little bit's going to get a bit tighter, so you've got to make sure that the tyre drops down into the centre of the rim. So you just give it a bit of a push in with your hand, and that'll take the pressure off the tyre. Now you could use tyre levers if it was really tight, but as you can see, that tube and tyre just pops in there nice and easy. Okay, just roll it around and make sure you can see this mark on the tyre all the way around where the bead is. Check your valve straight. The valve's got to be straight up and down. We don't want the valve laying that way or that way. It's got to be straight up and down. If you find you've put it in and the valve's laying one way, you just got to hold the rim and turn the tyre on the rim. This one's nice and straight. So now we're ready to put some air in it. Put a bit of air at the start. Make sure your valves pull through okay. Check your tyre. You can see the bead all the way around. Check the other side. Yep, the tyre's sitting on the rim properly. So now we can pump it up to the correct pressure. 50, I'm going to pump it up to 50, about halfway. I'll check with the owner to see what pressure he actually wants. Oops. Alright, so that's the tyre now re-inflated. The last thing I've got to do is put the dust cap back on.